All right, this should be fun. 49ers minicamp highlights and maybe a little OTA action as well. But the other day, I mentioned one of the top plays at 49ers minicamp. I thought it was the best play. It was Brock Purdy. I described it as this: fading away from pressure, rolling slightly to his left. The unnatural side for him as a right-handed thrower, and he dropped one into a bucket to Deebo Samuel about 30 yards downfield, right in front of the sideline. So I gave you the verbal description of that play. I wrote about it on The Athletic. I talked about it on this show. And then the 49ers came out with the video. So you can see how close my description was. Here's Purdy working, Purdy throwing, dropping it in a bucket to Deebo Samuel. Not pictured here is Ricky Pearsall, who was the first to congratulate Deebo right after that video ended. But one more time, Purdy away from the pressure. And, when Purdy throws these passes, he's not the tallest quarterback. Sometimes the pressure can be bearing down on him. This was not as extreme of a version as the touchdown to George Kittle against the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. But Kyle Shanahan joked that it looked like Purdy was throwing or a grenade out of a bunker. And to me, that's what this reminded me of. I was watching from about this angle, and then I just saw Purdy whip this throw up 30-plus yards downfield extremely, extremely accurately. Anyway, that was the one play that I had highlighted. Now we can take a look at the 49ers' larger minicamp reel. 82, Eric Saubert, veteran tight end. This is obviously courtesy of the 49ers. And you have a look at Deebo Samuel looking in good shape. That was Ricky Pearsall in the blue non-contact jersey. Braden Willis, nice catch. Elijah Mitchell, Leonard Floyd in there as well. I mean, you're getting a look at all of these 49ers players, including Isaac Guerendo, Juwan Jennings, more Deebo, more Purdy. Ricky Pearsall caught a lot of passes. Number 5 now is Josh Dobbs. Trey Lance, obviously no longer with the team. Dobbs, QB, has that number. 86, who you saw briefly there, that's Tay Martin, second-year receiver. He made a lot of big plays. There's 53, D. Winters. Quick look at 48, Logan Thomas, the tight end. With D. Winters, that's Juwan Jennings, obviously, finishing things up. With D. Winters, look out. The 49ers are talking about him. Fred Warner's talking about him as the player who had the best OTA session of anyone on the team. I think he's going to be firmly in that competition for the 49ers number 3 linebacker spot. Anyway, let's go through all of these highlights. This is from the other day. I haven't played this one yet for you. You had an all-pro reunion out on the practice field for the 49ers. That is Trent Williams, and that is Nick Bosa. Tim Ryan with the cameo in the background. Oh, there's another all-pro, George Kittle, running on through. But Trent Williams had not been around on Tuesday, but on Wednesday, he was there. Tanner Mordecai, 49ers rookie quarterback. He had a quick little play action snap there. It was a very good vibe on Wednesday. Kyle Shanahan talking with Deebo Samuel on the sideline. Samuel is in really good shape this year. You can always tell. And I know that last season he was as well, and I think it was a better year for him than in 2022. But the contract situation in 2022 led to Samuel not coming into camp in as great of shape. And you've seen yet another all-pro join the fray here. That is Christian McCaffrey at right. So just sit back and appreciate what the 49ers have right now. And as soon as I say that, another all-pro runs right back through the frame. As George Kittle. So you've got Kittle in there. You've got McCaffrey, Trent Williams, and Nick Bosa having a conversation. And we pan over to Deebo Samuel, tossing the football around. And obviously Kyle Shanahan, the coach, obviously, and Tim Ryan with his cameo in the background. So that was the scene at 49ers practice. After every single game, Nick Bosa will find where Trent Williams' locker is, even if it's on the road and their lockers are in different spots. They're obviously not used to the setup there, and they'll have a summit after every single game. Big part of how that 49ers locker room operates. Christian McCaffrey, a big fan of that whole process as well. He'll swing by to those summits after games, and 49ers probably the only locker room with the kind of star power and the culture team-wise to be able to make meetings like that happen. Here's the 49ers offensive line working with Chris Furster, Spencer Burford, and Colton Nikivitz. Those are the first two on this drill. Jarrett Kingston is number 62. Nick Zakel working for the 49ers there, number 63. You could take a look at Sebastian Gutierrez, one of their backup tackles. Not to be confused with Alfredo Gutierrez, who's no longer on the team. Isaac Alarcon is the 49ers' new international exception player. There's Chris Hubbard, 61, veteran swing tackle. Drake Nugent is 66. Have a look at him. You could tell he's the shortest offensive lineman on this team, but he's got a shot to make it. He was an all Big Ten center, started for Michigan, undrafted free agent. That was Jim Harbaugh's Michigan, Drake Nugent. And he was good over there. The reason he didn't get drafted, you'll see him in a rep there against Dominic Pooney, the 49ers' third-round pick. The reason he didn't get drafted was almost certainly because of the stature, the lack of height. But at center, you might be able to get away with it. Saw Talanoa Hufanga across the field in the All-Pro Summit. We're going to have another look at Trent Williams. Saying hello to everybody. It looks like Trent is also in really good shape entering this season. I mean, Trent, that you're looking at a future Hall of Famer right there. First ballot, surefire. That's a lock, future Hall of Famer. There's a reason why guys in that locker room like to hang around him because, just look at the physique and look at the athleticism combined with the physique. But B, Trent Williams is as cerebral of a player as there is. So he can talk to Nick Bosa all day long about scheme. And those two guys, it's almost like they're speaking a foreign language. They're speaking football at such a high level. And then they're able to square off against each other during training camp and practice their moves and their counter moves. And there is no better battle around the NFL at training camp than when these two are able to go at it. In the foreground at right, you've got Bobby Turner, legendary 49ers running backs coach. Bobby Turner was Mike Shanahan's running backs coach with the Denver Broncos from 1995 to 2006. So he's worked with Terrell Davis. He's obviously worked with all the big 49ers names, including Christian McCaffrey. Now we have a chance to see the receiver room. Ricky Pearsall in the blue non-contact jersey. Even with that non-contact jersey on, precautionary reasons because there isn't any contact allowed in these mini camps. But even without a jersey on, he was really, really good over the course of camp. He represents a leverage point for the 49ers when you talk about the Brandon Ayuk negotiations. Because I think Pearsall probably fits into that X role ultimately based on the movement we've seen. If he has the strength to do it, and I mean, we'll take another look at him in a bit, but the lower body strength to do it, then I think you could see him slotting in at a position where blocking is imperative, beating man coverage is imperative, beating press coverage is imperative. We'll see his press coverage beating abilities coming up. But if you look at Pearsall, you see them there on the right. You see the legs are strong. The base is strong. 190 pounds, I don't think, is a concern with Ricky Pearsall. All right, back to linemen working. This is tackles working with tight ends, combo blocks. 75 is Brandon Parker, former third-round pick of the Raiders. He's in the mix to be a 49ers swing tackle. Now, 48 is Logan Thomas, the tight end who had 55 catches last year. Former quarterback in the NFL, over 6'6". Look who he's working with. That's Brian Fleury, former college quarterback, now the 49ers tight ends coach. They're making sure that his combo block technique is up to par. And George Kittle was also giving Logan Thomas some pointers over at practice. So this is stuff that you like to see if you're a 49ers fan. This is stuff that you're going to need to see if Logan Thomas is going to unlock his receiving potential with this team. You've got to be able to combo up and execute these difficult blocks in the outside zone scheme. Otherwise, you're not going to see the field. But you can immediately see how tall Logan Thomas is. I mean, Matt Pryor. Brandon Parker is not a short player. Last year, Matt Pryor was the 49ers swing tackle, focused mainly on the right side. Brandon Parker, left tackle experience. He's going to be the guy that the 49ers are going to thrust in there to compete at that swing tackle job. I mean, Jalen Moore might be the favorite at this point, but Brandon Parker, he's been hurt over the past couple of years frequently. When he's healthy, he might be the most talented 49ers tackle option. He was definitely the highest draftee out of the 49ers tackle options. 82 is Eric Saubert, Veteran tight end, drafted in the 5th round with George Kittle, who he's talking to right there in 2017. So they were the same round, same year draftees, and now they're teammates with the 49ers. You can tell Saubert's a strong, strong body. 82 right in front of you. Jake Tonjes has put on some weight, 88. He's gotten stronger. And then we got to look at Mason Pline, the former basketball player. Here's more extra work for Logan Thomas with Brian Fleury. Pline is at the very right. So you can see the height there. Pline and Logan Thomas, they're both over 6'6". I think Pline probably closer to 6'7", maybe. Well, probably not 6'8", but he might, as the former basketball player, he does have that impressive height for the 49ers. If I'm Logan Thomas and I'm joining this 49ers team, I'm trying to make it, trying to learn their ways, I'm going to stand right next to George Kittle whenever I have a chance to. And that's exactly what Logan Thomas did. Because Kittle, he's still recovering from the core muscle surgery. A lot of his knowledge, you can tell, is wearing off on this unit. He's around the team. I can't not mention Braden Willis, who walked out of the frame, number 9. He was way more involved in the 49ers pass offense than he had been last year over the course of this OTA session. Willis was catching a lot of footballs. There he is on the right, number 9. So, we can talk about Logan Thomas all we want, but if Braden Willis is able to make that next stride in the receiving game, he's already got the blocking stuff down. Okay, this next part that I'm going to show you, we're going to go to the sled drill, which is my favorite part of practice. We only got one of these on the corner of the field where we could film, but this is Chris Kocurek and the defensive line, the heartbeat of the team. This part of it's going to have sound available. So let's take a look at the 49ers sled drill with Kocurek and company.
Check that. Grave and KD. Grave and KD, no guessing. Lock them elbows out. Need a hot stove. Lock it out, run underneath it. Oh, KD! All right, here we go. Kevin! Oh, Leonard! Oh, Samo! Oh, he tore!
And there they go, the defensive linemen done with their reps on the sled. Chris Kocurek brings energy unknown to mankind to that particular drill for San Francisco. And it always lasts less than a minute, so you got to be ready. If you're going to be watching that one at practice, they're going to run over there. You have to be in position. They go through it efficiently. The CBA only allows a finite amount of practice time, and teams are always trying to squeeze their sessions into what is allowed, so they have to be as efficient as possible. I mean, as far as running a practice, a lot of that, I read John Wooden's books back, the great UCLA coach who won all those national championships. He would set such specific practice plans, and it would be boom, boom, boom. Nobody would waste time. Nobody would be dawdling around the field. I feel that 49ers practices are run in a very efficient manner. I mean, this is the NFL. You can't be wasting time. And I definitely think that the 49ers are not wasting time while they're out there on that practice field. Let's watch more of this team working. This right here was from, I believe, one of the 2 minicamp practices, still off-season work. You can tell that these are the quarterbacks working early on while special teams is happening elsewhere on the practice field. I spied Elijah Mitchell in the background. This was Brock Purdy throwing some darts the other day. I remembered this. Purdy's arm strength is looking A-okay, is looking fine. I mean, there were some overblown concerns last year coming off of the elbow surgery, but he put those to rest amongst those who knew what they were watching really quickly. I know that there are people who didn't know what they were watching about Brock Purdy. We're talking about that for quite a bit of time, but he's making crosshash throws with no problem. And I think this season, the added rest, the added recovery of another 365 days has been really helpful for Brock Purdy. He should be zipping the football from the start. Matt Barrows took this video, and I just showed one of the tight ends. This was the first day. So this was Tuesday. So we got to credit Matt for this. But this was Logan Thomas as soon as he signed, arriving talking with Brian Fleury. So this was the version of a different version of what we saw on Wednesday. So as you can tell, this is very obviously a crash course for Logan Thomas, who can obviously catch the ball. 72 catches a few years ago. Then he tore his ACL, came back, had 55 catches for Washington last year. But seeing the field for the 49ers at tight end, the whole point of the position is this guy's run and pass blocking and pass receiving. He's going to have to learn those combo blocks, and he's going to have to do them at a high level. And that's why he's talking so often to George Kittle and to Logan Thomas. Have another look at 49ers QBs throwing. This is Brandon Allen now working the sidelines. This was the same drill that we just saw from Brock Purdy. The Brock Purdy arm strength debate, discourse, whatever you want to call it, it's one of the lower IQ discourses that we'll see surrounding the 49ers. His arm is just fine, and he's just been historically accurate on those intermediate passes. And hell, he's been historically accurate on deep passes, completed nearly 63% of them over the regular season last year, which was the highest mark on NFL record. But now let's talk about Josh Dobbs, who's throwing in front of us. I thought Dobbs, and you're not going to see a miss here, or the 11-on-11 period is where Dobbs has struggled a little bit more with some of those intermediate touch throws, require some feathering over the middle of the field. Those are the throws that Brock Purdy is so damn good at. So Dobbs, if he's going to be in that QB2 competition and remain the favorite over Brandon Allen, he's going to have to become better with some of the touch throws over the middle of the field. That's a timing thing. That's a touch thing. That's an accuracy thing. It's very difficult in this offense, but those are the lifeblood of this offense. One more look there at Tanner Mordecai, 49ers rookie. He's going to be the fourth quarterback. And now we can go to the sled drill, which we just saw. So I'll fast forward through that to Christian McCaffrey up at the podium for San Francisco after signing his contract extension. Speaking of that, speaking of Christian, my article came out today. For those of you who might not have seen it, we'll put that up on the screen here so that you can be apprised of the Christian McCaffrey contract details. Listen, I get further into this. I get into this at a deeper level than anybody else into this contract stuff. And to understand what the 49ers are doing, this is mandatory to study. They're giving out unusual contract structures. They're really banking on the future and the cap increase, and they're really relying on their own judgment of their A-list players. If you pay an A-lister and he stays an A-lister and it remains a cost-efficient contract, the money that you pay him is going to pay off because the 49ers aren't the Vikings. They're not paying 70% over market rate for their star players. They're finding deals that have a good chance of being cost-efficient. They've handed out 8 position record contracts ever since Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch took over. And for the most part, they've gotten their bang for the buck out of those contracts. So this is the piece, how the 49ers paid Christian McCaffrey and still have room for Brandon Ayuk and Brock Purdy. It is available on my Twitter. Maybe Mike can toss the link into the description as well. I can show you a quick glimpse at the McCaffrey contract. This is what it looks like. Accordion structure, deferring cap payments into the future. We saw Juwan Jennings in one of the highlight reels a little bit earlier. Look at his deal. Same thing, except the accordion structures across only 2 bonuses instead of 3. So that's what the 49ers are working with here. If Brandon Ayuk does agree with the 49ers to a new contract this offseason, it's probably going to be more of the same. A cap hit that's actually lowered in the first year. From right now, it's at $14 million. That's where Christian McCaffrey was prior to his new deal. They lowered Christian McCaffrey's from that 14 number to about the high 6s. I think they saved $7.4 million. I think they can get Ayuk down to $7 or $8 million. It just depends on what kind of bonus structure they use. So financially, the 49ers have to continue being smart. They have to be prudent, but they've been the most aggressive front office in football ever since Lynch and Shanahan took over. The trades that they've made, the 8 position record contracts that they've given out, you just saw another position record contract with Christian McCaffrey. they're doubling down on their really good players. They're going to be set to double down on Brock Purdy next offseason. Brandon Ayuk is a really good player. They can double down, and they want to double down on him as well, but they have to do everything within financial reason. All right, it's 49ers Q&A time, 20 minutes into this show. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the highlight reels. Those were fun. Those of you who did not see them, if you came into the live late, you can always rewind and check them out. But that hopefully was your glimpse into what it looked like on the 49ers practice field over the course of this spring program. Invader 49ers, one of our smarter commenters. Really enjoy his takes. They have been staggering cap hits over the past few years. There you go. Those are some staggered cap hits for you. 0 interest loan on the cap into the future. Looks like people are talking about Dak Prescott, thinking that Jerry Jones is going to let him go. Well, who's Jerry going to have play quarterback? He's going to draft somebody? It's hard to find a QB in this league. For all of Dak's flaws, it's probably the best that Dallas can do right now. Dallas did not spend a lot in free agency. I think they spent less than any other team in the NFL. That's led to a lot of restlessness over there in Texas for America's team. Guys, it's way too early to firmly predict Brock Purdy's contract offer. Let's let this season play out. Let's actually let him become eligible for an extension, because we don't know exactly what's going to happen. If he delivers another MVP caliber year, he could be the number 1 paid quarterback ever. If he doesn't, if he regresses this season, if he gets hurt, then the money won't be as high, right? So it's just too early. We don't have all the variables that we need to yet to accurately project this. For now, we can project the Brandon Ayuk contract, which I did. Get that one up on the screen for you. Here, let's go to this. I accidentally closed the window, but that's okay because we are reopening it right now. This is what we can project contract-wise. We can project the player who's built up the body of work, who's actually eligible for an extension. I could talk about the scepter of Brock Purdy's potential extension now and how the 49ers do have to strategically, generally pre-plan around it. But as far as details go, they're not going to cross that bridge until next season at the soonest. Deebo seems to be in a really good headspace so far this year. Do you think the 49ers could see a step up from him? Yeah, I mean, we saw prime peak Deebo in 2021. Physically, he should still be in his prime. It's going to be 2024 now. He hadn't been as good in 2022 and 2023 as he was in 2021. In spurts, maybe. The game against the Eagles was insane last year, all those touchdowns. So, obviously, he still has the ability. A lot of it's availability, staying healthy for the full year. But in 2021, Deebo Samuel was absolutely special. And that was a year that he came in great shape. I think he's come into the spring program this year in really good shape. So I think there is a legitimate shot for Deebo Samuel to see a step-up kind of season. How's Tariq Owens looking? We have to wait till training camp, guys. He's had very limited reps. They went for him on a deep ball the other day. Forgot who threw it, one of the backup quarterbacks. It was an overthrow. Owens wasn't really open. It's cutthroat. There's going to be limited opportunities for him because he's buried deep on the depth chart. But OTAs, it's about just crash coursing the rookies with the playbook, getting them involved in an NFL system. Now they have a chance to leave for 40 days, to self-evaluate, to work out, to get in shape, to figure out what they can improve on their time away. And then they have to show up at training camp on July 23rd, ready to make a move. So they're not determining practice squad or 53-man roster for anybody right now. They're going to determine that with training camp, and we'll see how Tariq Owens looks then. Jeff asks, do I think that the 49ers keep only 3 tight ends on their 53 and an extra wide receiver given the receiver depth? I'm not sure, but in the past, they've almost always liked to carry 4 tight ends. They've carried 7 wideouts once, and that was just a Jalen Hurd roster machination that one year. So they like 6 wide receivers, if not 5. I get it. They've got a little bit more of a crowd there. What are you going to do with Trent Taylor? What are you going to do with Chris Conley? It all depends on who you think you can actually sneak to the practice squad. Remember, vested veterans like Trent Taylor and Chris Conley do not have to be exposed to waivers if you're cutting them and then trying to sign them back to the practice squad. So you can have a prearranged deal with those guys saying, hey, if we cut you, will you sign with our practice squad? And they can say yes. Meanwhile, somebody on a rookie deal, you have to waive them, and then 31 other teams have a chance to claim that player. So it's a lot harder to pass a promising young player through to the practice squad. So I think that that might allow the 49ers, what I just talked about, to keep receivers in the building without having them on the 53-man roster, and that would allow them to carry 4 tight ends as they usually do on the 53-man. Mitchell or Mason, more touches. Who better complements Christian McCaffrey? Well, don't forget Garendo. Don't forget Cody Schrader. Don't forget Patrick Taylor Jr. I mean, the 49ers, this is if we want to talk about crowds, big time competitions, running back position, I think definitely will be hosting one of those. Conley was awesome on special teams in the Super Bowl. He was a really good gunner in the Super Bowl. I mean, a couple of those plays we'd be talking about as plays that pushed the 49ers over the top had that one ball not hit Darrell Luter Jr.'s leg. I mean, it was bad luck for the 49ers in a lot of parts of that Super Bowl, but one area where they made their luck was through the veteran Chris Conley. He made big catches against Detroit in the NFC Championship game. Made a big catch against, I think he made a big catch in the Super Bowl too, right? Made a huge catch against the Packers on the game-winning drive. Conley's the guy that you want to keep in the building. So I don't know, since he's a vested veteran, you could have the deal worked out to where he stays on the team through the practice squad, call him up early in the season. Injuries will happen. He'll ultimately get a full-time promotion. That's what happened last year. He got that full-time promotion down the stretch run, was a full-time 53-man guy for those big plays in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl. So I think the 49ers definitely want him around. I think Trent Taylor still has some juice. He's a lot healthier than the last time he was with the 49ers. But more than anything, he's a reliable punt return option. Didn't muff a single punt over his time with the 49ers earlier in his career. So that's another guy worth keeping as a practice squad flex if you can manage to do it. I get it. It's crowded, but the 49ers have more room at their disposal to keep guys around the building than in years past. The last couple of years, it's become much easier through the practice squad rules to do that. Being Butterfly says the 49ers want Ayuk and Pearsall for their skills. 2 wide receivers that are vertical threats and skilled route runners is better than 1. I think you meant to say that can beat man. Yes, of course. They want to stock up this receiving room as much as possible. That being said, if Brandon Ayuk is holding out and he's looking for the most money possible, then reps equal money in the NFL because reps equal stats, and stats are going to correlate to higher pay. And Brandon Ayuk, if he doesn't have a new deal, is going to be in a contract year. And in a contract year, you're going to want to rack up as many targets as possible, right? It's just natural. That's the way to make money. If Pearsall's looking really good during training camp, just like he did during OTAs and the 49ers veteran minicamp, well, he stands as somebody that can threaten some of Brandon Ayuk's snap load, especially if Brandon Ayuk is not out there and is not at practice. So they want both of them, that's for sure. But we have to also look at this through the contractual dynamic. And I think that the 49ers are happy to have Ricky Pearsall on the team for that reason. This is a really good stat. The 49ers dropped passes over the past 5 seasons as a team. In 2019, they had 28. In 2020, they had 34. In 2021, they had 26. In 2022, they had 37. Then all of a sudden, boom, in 2023, only 9 dropped passes for the 49ers. Brock Purdy throws a very catchable football. That is key one. Obviously, they've got good personnel. The personnel on the receiving end has generally been getting better over time. That's a massive reduction of drops. Being Butterfly, we'll call it the Brock Purdy effect. Massive reduction of drops. 28, 34, 26, 37, and 9. That's high-level stuff. A lot of it starts with Brock Purdy throwing that catchable football. Would extending Ayuk save the 49ers cap space next year? Yeah, well, not next. Well, he's not under contract for next year, so it would cost something that's not currently counting next year. It could save you space now in 2024. $14.1 million is the 2024 hit for the final year of his contract, and you could lower his cap hit to probably $6 to $8 million for this season with a long-term extension. It's not all about arm strength. That is true. And, not even the big part of it is about arm strength. There's a finite amount of strength that you do have to have. But so many people get fixated on the ability to throw a 60-yard bomb, which I'm sure Purdy can. But they get fixated on all of the physical stuff, and then they lose sight of the touch throws, the intelligent throws, the calculations of geometry and the feel for the field, the leadership capability that goes beyond just the throws, but the demeanor and the aura behind them. It's way more about all of that stuff than it is about arm strength at the NFL level. If you play in Buffalo, arm strength has more value. Yes, because you're fighting against bitterly cold winds. You're fighting against weather. Hand size is important. So the Bills drafting a tank from the 5.59 in Josh Allen as their quarterback a few years ago, that absolutely was significant because they've got to deal with the elements. And Allen is probably the best built quarterback ever to deal with elements. Now, the 49ers are going to be at an disadvantage on the road after Thanksgiving at Buffalo, especially if the weather is bad. But the 49ers don't play the majority of their games in Buffalo outside. The 49ers play in Northern California at Levi's Stadium. So we don't talk about the need to have a howitzer for an arm to cut through the Buffalo wind coming from Niagara Falls when it comes to Brock Purdy. We talk about West Coast offense, timing, anticipation, calmness under pressure, leadership demeanor. Brock Purdy is all of the above. All right, everybody. 33 minutes in. I think that's a good amount. Right? Roger Craig, 33. We'll go from there. Everybody, thanks for watching. I hope you have a lovely Friday evening. We'll talk to you very, very soon, and we'll play some highlights one more time before we're out of here. Yeah, I think this was supposed to be a highlight show. We'll do it one more time. We'll start with one of the 49ers reels, the sizzle reel. Remember we used to play sizzle reels at training camp last year? We're going to do it every day coming out of training camp this season again. Because you get stuff like this. You get to see Deebo Samuel. You get to see the young linemen. Braden Willis beating Ezekiel Turner. Leonard Floyd, look at that. Explosive rusher. There was Yetur Gross-Matos. Isaac Guerrero. Jawan Jennings. Purdy. Ricky Pearsall. Josh Dobbs. There's Deebo Samuel again. I think that was a quick glimpse at Eric Saubert. Veteran tight end. Tay Martin. 49ers. And there's D. Winters, along with Logan Ryan. 49ers are loaded, folks. That didn't even feature everybody. They are loaded, and that was good stuff. All right, those are rookie minicamp highlights, or actually just minicamp highlights, veteran minicamp highlights. We'll talk to everybody very soon.